Sometimes the scariest health battles are the ones we never see coming. You might wake up one morning feeling fine, only to learn during a routine check that your creatinine is climbing or that your kidneys aren't filtering the way they used to. It feels invisible, almost unfair. And yet, for millions of people over 50, that's the quiet threat stealing away energy, independence, and peace of mind. I'm Dr. Brian, and welcome to Vital Science for Seniors. For decades, I've sat across from patients who carried this same hidden burden. Some were told their future would shrink with every lab result, but I've also watched others turn their health around in ways that stunned even their doctors. Today, I want to share something powerful with you. 8 foods that science shows can help protect your kidneys, and in some cases, even help them heal. I want to begin with a food that often surprises people because it isn't sweet or comforting, and in fact, most people wrinkle their noses when they first taste it. Bitter melon. I still remember when one of my patients, Samuel, a retired teacher in his 70s, brought me a small bag of knobbly green gourds his daughter had mailed from overseas. He said, "Dr. Brian, this is supposed to help my sugar, but it tastes so bad, I'm not sure I can do it." We both laughed. Yet months later, he was the one laughing with joy when his blood sugar numbers finally came down and his kidney function stabilized. Here's why this wrinkled, bitter fruit deserves a place in the conversation about kidney health. Your kidneys are under constant attack from something called oxidative stress. Imagine your body as a city with your cells as the buildings. Over time, pollution builds up, little sparks of damage called free radicals. Normally, your body's firefighters, antioxidants, rush in to neutralize those sparks. But if there aren't enough firefighters, the sparks multiply, burning through walls, leaving scars, and in the case of the kidneys, scarring those delicate filters called glomeruli. Once scar tissue builds, kidney function begins to decline. Bitter melon is loaded with natural antioxidants like vitamin C, vitamin A, lutein, and zeaxanthin. They don't just sit quietly in your bloodstream, they actively mop up those dangerous sparks before they can spread. But bitter melon's story doesn't end there. One of the biggest villains for kidney health is uncontrolled blood sugar. Over time, high blood sugar stiffens and damages the tiny blood vessels that nourish your kidneys. That's why diabetes is one of the leading causes of kidney disease. The compounds in bitter melon, charantin, vicine, and something known as peptide P, work a bit like tuning a piano that has gone out of key. They help your body's insulin do its job better, moving sugar out of the blood and into the tissues where it belongs. In a clinical study, participants who took bitter melon daily for 4 weeks saw significant drops in their blood sugar. And when sugar's under control, the kidneys breathe a sigh of relief. There's another layer too. Chronic inflammation is like a slow fire in the body, and the kidneys are especially vulnerable. Bitter melon has anti-inflammatory compounds that help reduce this silent smolder. One fascinating study even showed it could protect against kidney damage caused by certain harsh medications. And for seniors dealing with both cholesterol issues and kidney worries, bitter melon offers yet another gift. It lowers LDL, the so-called bad cholesterol, and raises HDL, the protective cholesterol. Less strain on your blood vessels means smoother blood flow into those precious filters in your kidneys. Now, I won't pretend bitter melon is easy to eat. Its taste can be sharp, almost medicinal. Some people slice it thin and stir-fry it with spices. Others prefer blending it with other vegetables to mask the bitterness. Capsules and powders are available, and for many that's the most realistic way to include it without grimacing. What matters is consistency, not perfection. I do need to give one caution though. Too much bitter melon can overwhelm the system because its bioactive compounds are powerful. A small daily dose, guided by your doctor or dietitian, is more than enough to reap the benefits without risking side effects. When Samuel came back months after our conversation, his creatinine had stabilized. He told me, "Dr. Brian, I didn't think one food could make a difference. But maybe it's not just the food, it's the hope it gave me to keep going." That's exactly the spirit I want you to carry with you. Sometimes the most powerful remedies come in the smallest packages. Flax seeds, tiny and unassuming, have been part of human diets for thousands of years, Yet only recently have we begun to understand just how deeply they can influence kidney health. I think back to a patient of mine, Ellen, a 68-year-old grandmother who came to me exhausted from years of high blood pressure and creeping kidney problems. She said, "Juan, Dr. Brian, I'm tired of feeling like everything I eat is hurting me." We worked together to slowly adjust her diet, and one of the simplest changes was adding ground flax seeds to her morning yogurt. 6 months later, her blood pressure had dropped, her cholesterol was better controlled, and her labs showed her kidneys weren't deteriorating as quickly. That's the quiet power of these little seeds. So why do flax seeds matter? The first reason is their omega-3 fatty acids, specifically alpha-linolenic acid. Omega-3s are famous for their heart benefits, but they also act like a soothing balm inside the body. Inflammation, that invisible fire we talked about earlier, is one of the strongest drivers of kidney damage. These fatty acids help calm the fire, protecting the delicate filters in your kidneys from the kind of chronic irritation that leads to scarring and loss of function. Flax seeds also carry a remarkable amount of soluble fiber and lignans. Think of fiber as a soft brush sweeping through your digestive tract, binding to cholesterol, and helping to carry it out of the body before it can clog blood vessels. Cleaner vessels mean smoother blood flow to the kidneys. The lignans, which are plant compounds with antioxidant properties, add another layer of defense against oxidative stress, the same stress that accelerates kidney decline. For seniors, the combination of fiber and lignans isn't just good for digestion or cholesterol, it translates into long-term protection for the kidneys. High blood pressure is another silent villain. Over time, elevated pressure slams against the fragile vessels in your kidneys, breaking them down like waves eroding a shoreline. Studies have shown that adding flax seeds regularly can actually help lower blood pressure, even in people with stubborn hypertension. In Ellen's case, this meant fewer dizzy spells and less fear of kidney failure looming around the corner. Now here's where it gets practical. Flax seeds need to be ground because whole seeds often pass through the body without releasing their nutrients. A tablespoon or two a day is a safe and effective dose. Sprinkle it on cereal, stir it into soups, or blend it into a smoothie. The nutty taste is subtle, and once it becomes a habit, you may hardly notice it's there, yet your body certainly does. One note of caution, flax seeds are high in fiber, and jumping in too quickly can cause bloating or discomfort. Introduce them gradually and drink plenty of water to help your digestive system adjust. Also, because of their omega-3 content, they can slightly thin the blood. For anyone on blood-thinning medications like warfarin or aspirin, it's important to coordinate with your doctor. What inspires me most is seeing patients realize they still have power in their own kitchens. Ellen once said to me, "I thought kidney disease meant my story was already written, but every spoonful of flax feels like I'm writing a new chapter." That's the beauty of simple foods. They give us back a sense of agency, one small step at a time. There's a spice that glows like sunlight, one that has found its way into kitchens and medicine cabinets for centuries. That spice is turmeric. You've probably seen it, the rich golden powder that turns curries bright yellow. But beyond its color and flavor, turmeric holds something extraordinary for anyone trying to protect their kidneys. The secret lies in a compound called curcumin. Imagine curcumin as a shield, one that absorbs the blows of inflammation and oxidative stress before they can scar the kidneys. This matters because your kidneys are constantly exposed to the blood's entire cargo: sugar, toxins, fats, hormones. If inflammation is raging, your kidneys are among the first to suffer. Curcumin steps in as a peacemaker, calming the storm. In fact, research has shown that turmeric can reduce protein in the urine, which is one of the earliest warning signs that kidneys are under siege. I recall a patient named Gloria, a retired nurse who came to me with both arthritis pain and chronic kidney disease. She told me she was tired of feeling trapped, her joints aching while her lab reports grew worse each month. Together we discussed natural supports, and turmeric tea became part of her daily ritual. Within weeks, she reported less stiffness. Over time, her kidney function stabilized enough that she no longer feared the word dialysis every time she opened her test results. "Dr. Brian," she told me, "I never thought a spice could give me hope again." Turmeric's benefits don't stop with inflammation. It also strengthens the lining of blood vessels, reducing the wear and tear that high blood pressure causes. Stronger vessels mean smoother blood flow, which protects the kidney's delicate filters. This is particularly powerful for seniors who often juggle both high blood pressure and rising creatinine levels. Now let's talk about how to use it. Turmeric can be added to soups, rice, or smoothies, but one of the most soothing ways is golden milk. Warm milk blended with turmeric and just a pinch of black pepper. That pepper is important because it enhances curcumin absorption by up to 2,000%. Without it, much of the curcumin passes through unused. The effective daily dose is modest, about 500 to 1,000 milligrams of turmeric, which equals 50 to 200 milligrams of curcumin. More is not better. In fact, high doses can burden the kidneys rather than protect them. There are cautions worth remembering. Turmeric is naturally high in oxalates, compounds that in excess can contribute to kidney stones, particularly if paired with other oxalate-rich foods like spinach or beets. For someone with a history of stones, moderation is key. Turmeric also interacts with blood thinners, and in combination with garlic or ginkgo, it can raise the risk of bleeding. So it's important to weave turmeric into your diet thoughtfully with your doctor's guidance. When I think of turmeric, I think of Gloria's quiet smile as she told me her mornings were brighter. She didn't just feel better physically, she felt lighter, as though her health wasn't slipping away so quickly anymore. That is the power of adding small, intentional habits to your life. Your kidneys are resilient organs, but they need allies. And turmeric, this golden spice of history and healing, can be one of the most loyal. When most people think about food and kidneys, they often imagine what they must give up: salt, red meat, processed snacks. But I'd like to shift that mindset for a moment and talk about a food that gives something back: fish. For centuries, coastal communities thrived on diets rich in fish, and their rates of heart and kidney disease were strikingly lower than in regions where fish was scarce. There's wisdom in that history, and modern science confirms it. Fish provides one of the cleanest sources of protein. Your kidneys need protein, but here's the catch. Too much protein, especially from processed meats, can strain them. The beauty of fish is that it offers high-quality protein that your body can use efficiently for repair and maintenance, helping tissue, including those fragile kidney filters, stay resilient. For older adults who sometimes struggle to balance protein needs with kidney safety, fish is often the perfect middle ground. But the true gift of fish lies in its omega-3 fatty acids. These are not just nutrients. They're guardians against inflammation. Think of inflammation as a slow rust creeping through your body, weakening blood vessels, stiffening tissues, damaging organs. Omega-3s are like oil that halts the rust, protecting your system from inside out. For the kidneys, this means less swelling, better blood flow, and lower risk of the scarring that leads to chronic kidney disease. I'll share a story here. A gentleman named Harold, 74 years old, once sat across from me, worried about his rising creatinine. He confessed that he'd been a lifelong steak and potatoes man and wasn't sure he could change, but he was willing to try. We swapped 2 of his weekly red meat dinners with salmon and mackerel. 3 months later, his cholesterol had dropped, his blood pressure was steadier, and his kidney function, while not perfect, had stopped its downward slide. What struck me wasn't just his numbers. It was the pride in his voice when he said, "Dr. Brian, I never thought I could learn to enjoy fish, but now I look forward to it." Beyond kidney protection, fish supports heart health. And the heart and kidneys are like dance partners. When one falters, the other struggles. A strong heart keeps blood flowing smoothly to the kidneys, while healthy kidneys help control blood pressure, reducing strain on the heart. Adding fish twice or 3 times a week strengthens both ends of this partnership. Now, which fish are best? Oily varieties such as salmon, sardines, mackerel, and trout are richest in omega-3s. White fish like cod and tilapia provide lean protein, though with fewer omega-3 benefits. The key is balance and variety. For those concerned about mercury, especially seniors, smaller fish like sardines and anchovies are safer choices because they accumulate less mercury than larger predators. One important note: fish, when paired with high oxalate foods like spinach or beets, may raise the risk of kidney stones for some people. So while a spinach salmon salad may sound healthy, it's best to enjoy those combinations in moderation if you've ever battled stones. When I reflect on Harold's journey, I realized it wasn't about fish alone. It was about hope. Each new meal was a reminder that his health story wasn't finished. And that's something I want you to hold on to. Every time you choose a piece of salmon over steak or sardines over sausage, you are sending your kidneys a gift of healing. Your body hears those choices. It responds. And over time, those small choices write a much bigger story of strength and longevity. There's something timeless about olive oil. For thousands of years, it has been more than just a cooking fat. In Mediterranean cultures, it was a symbol of life, health, even peace. And while we often think of it as a heart-healthy staple, the truth is olive oil has powerful benefits for the kidneys too. Your kidneys are constantly under pressure, literally. Blood pressure is one of the most important factors in their health. Every day, they filter around 50 gallons of blood. And if that blood comes rushing in like a fire hose, the fragile filters inside can be damaged. Olive oil helps to soften that pressure. Its monounsaturated fats improve blood vessel flexibility, so blood flows more gently, less like a battering ram and more like a smooth river. Lower pressure means less wear and tear on your kidneys. But that's not all. Olive oil is packed with antioxidants, vitamin E, polyphenols, and oleuropein. These compounds act like bodyguards, fighting off oxidative stress, the same stress that scars kidneys over time. It's almost as if olive oil coats your cells in a protective layer, shielding them from daily damage. In fact, research has consistently shown that people who follow Mediterranean-style diets rich in olive oil have lower risks of chronic kidney disease. I remember Maria, a 72-year-old patient of mine who came to me tired and anxious. Her creatinine was creeping upward, her cholesterol was high, and she was worried about losing her independence. When we reviewed her diet, I noticed she was still cooking with margarine and vegetable oils. We made one simple swap: olive oil as her main fat. She started drizzling it over vegetables, whisking it into dressings, even using it lightly for cooking. 3 months later, her cholesterol was lower, her blood pressure had improved, and her kidneys weren't declining as quickly. But what made me smile was when she said, "Dr. Brian, my salads taste better than they ever have." Sometimes health doesn't have to feel like sacrifice. It can feel like joy. Another important benefit of olive oil is that it's phosphorus-free. Many oils and processed fats contain hidden phosphorus additives, which can stress kidneys, especially when function is already reduced. Olive oil, however, is naturally safe, giving you flavor and nourishment without adding hidden burdens. How much should you use? The answer isn't gallons, but also not just a teaspoon. Most studies suggest that replacing unhealthy fats with about 2 to 3 tablespoons of olive oil a day is both safe and beneficial. Think of it as a swap, not an extra. Replace butter, margarine, or shortening with olive oil whenever possible. Of course, even olive oil can lose its magic if combined with the wrong foods. Pairing it with heavily salted dishes or sugary baked goods won't protect your kidneys. High sodium raises blood pressure, and too much sugar risks diabetes, two of the biggest enemies of kidney health. Olive oil is a protector, but it can't fight alone. It works best when paired with whole, fresh foods, vegetables, lean proteins, legumes, and whole grains. What moves me about olive oil is how ordinary it is. A bottle on the counter, a drizzle over bread, a shine on roasted vegetables. Yet inside that golden liquid is the quiet strength to protect your kidneys day after day. It's a reminder that healing doesn't always come in pills or procedures. Sometimes it comes in the simplest, most ancient of gifts, waiting for us at the table. If olive oil is the golden healer, then blueberries are the tiny blue warriors. It always amazes me how something so small can carry such strength. Nature often hides its most powerful medicines in the humblest packages, and blueberries are a perfect example. Your kidneys face two relentless enemies: oxidative stress and inflammation. Think of oxidative stress as sparks flying inside your cells, slowly burning them out, and inflammation as the smoke that lingers after a fire, choking everything around it. Blueberries fight both. Their deep blue color comes from anthocyanins, potent antioxidants that act like firefighters, extinguishing sparks, clearing smoke, protecting your kidneys from the slow damage that often goes unnoticed until it's too late. But here's what's remarkable. Blueberries do all this without burdening your kidneys. They're naturally low in sodium, phosphorus, and potassium, which makes them one of the safest fruits for people managing kidney disease. In fact, many healthy fruits can actually be too high in potassium, putting extra stress on kidneys. Blueberries offer a sweet, refreshing option without that hidden risk. I once worked with a woman named Ellen, who was in her late 60s. She loved fruit but had been told to avoid bananas and oranges because of her potassium levels. She was heartbroken, thinking her days of enjoying fruit were over. When I introduced her to blueberries, it felt like giving her joy back. She began eating a handful every morning with oatmeal. Over time, her blood pressure stabilized, and she told me she felt lighter, less bloated, more energetic. She would smile and say, "Dr. Brian, those little blue miracles saved my mornings." Blueberries also support heart health, and that's key because the heart and kidneys are a team. Poor kidney function raises blood pressure, and high blood pressure damages the kidneys. It's a vicious cycle. Blueberries, by lowering blood pressure and supporting blood vessels, can help break that cycle. Research has shown that regular blueberry intake can reduce blood pressure almost as effectively as some first-line medications. That's powerful. Another fascinating benefit is their role in preventing urinary tract infections, UTIs, a common issue for seniors. While cranberries are more famous for this, blueberries share similar compounds that make it harder for bacteria to stick to the urinary tract lining. By reducing the risk of infection, they help lighten the workload on your kidneys. Of course, how you eat them matters. Fresh or frozen blueberries are best. A small handful, about 1 to 2 servings a day, is all it takes. But beware of blueberry muffins, jams, or sugary desserts. Those are packed with added sugar, which does far more harm than good. You want the fruit, not the frosting. And here's a small but important detail. Dairy can actually reduce the antioxidant power of blueberries. So if you love yogurt, choose plant-based options or eat your blueberries on their own to get the full benefit. What makes blueberries special to me is not just their science, but their accessibility. They're widely available, easy to eat, and they carry with them a sense of abundance and hope. Every handful is a quiet act of healing. And maybe that's the lesson here. Protecting your kidneys doesn't always require dramatic changes. Sometimes it's as simple as choosing a bowl of blueberries instead of a cookie, reaching for nature's medicine instead of a packaged snack. Over time, those tiny choices build into big changes, the kind that keep you strong, independent, and vibrant. Cabbage doesn't usually get much attention. It's not as glamorous as blueberries or as rich as olive oil. In fact, many of my patients used to wrinkle their noses when I suggested it. But let me tell you, cabbage is one of the quiet heroes of kidney health. First, it's loaded with antioxidants like vitamin C and sulforaphane. Imagine your kidneys as filters that catch debris in your bloodstream. Over time, those filters can get clogged and scarred from constant exposure to toxins and inflammation. Sulforaphane works like a gentle cleansing agent, helping to sweep away the damage before it sticks. It reduces inflammation in the tiny blood vessels of your kidneys, keeping them flexible and less prone to scarring. Vitamin C, meanwhile, helps neutralize free radicals, the unstable molecules that accelerate kidney decline. But what really makes cabbage shine for people with kidney concerns is its mineral profile. It's naturally low in potassium, unlike many other vegetables. Potassium is a wonderful nutrient for healthy kidneys, but when kidneys are struggling, too much can overwhelm them, leading to dangerous heart rhythms. Cabbage gives you the fiber, antioxidants, and vitamins you need without overloading your system. That balance is rare. I recall a gentleman named Harold in his late 70s. He had stage 3 kidney disease and was struggling to adjust his diet. He missed big hearty meals and felt limited by his restrictions. One day his daughter cooked him a simple cabbage stir-fry, garlic, olive oil, a little lemon. He was skeptical at first, but then his eyes lit up. "This tastes good," he said, almost surprised. Over the months, cabbage became a staple on his plate, in soups, slaws, sautés. Not only did his lab results improve, his creatinine stabilized, his blood pressure lowered, but he felt satisfied again, like eating wasn't just about restriction, but about nourishment. Cabbage also helps digestion, and that's crucial for kidney health. When your kidneys aren't filtering properly, Your gut picks up some of the slack, eliminating waste through the digestive tract. The fiber in cabbage supports this process, keeping things moving, reducing the buildup of toxins in your blood. In a way, cabbage is like a helpful neighbor stepping in when your kidneys are overwhelmed. How should you eat it? The beauty of cabbage is its versatility. You can enjoy it raw in a salad or slaw, fermented as sauerkraut, lightly steamed, roasted, or added to soups. Half a cup a few times a week can make a meaningful difference. Fermented cabbage, in particular, brings probiotics to the table, supporting gut health, which is deeply interconnected with kidney function. But here's a caution. Cabbage itself is wonderfully kidney-friendly, but it's often paired with processed meats. Think coleslaw next to barbecue, or sauerkraut with hot dogs. Those foods are high in sodium and preservatives, which are the real villains for kidneys. The magic comes when cabbage stands on its own, prepared simply and paired with wholesome foods. Sometimes I think of cabbage as a metaphor for aging. It's layered, humble, not flashy, but inside it carries incredible resilience and strength. For seniors especially, it offers a nourishment without burden, healing without complication. Choosing cabbage is like saying yes to a food that respects your kidney's limits while giving your body the support it needs. And maybe the greatest gift of cabbage is that it reminds us health doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes the simplest, most ordinary foods, the ones our grandparents ate, are the very ones that keep us strong and independent today. Cucumbers may look like little more than water in a green jacket, but don't be fooled. For kidneys, they are like a gentle rain after a long drought, hydrating, cleansing, restoring balance. Hydration is one of the most overlooked aspects of kidney health. Your kidneys are essentially water managers. They filter waste from your blood, but they need enough fluid to flush those toxins away. When you're dehydrated, your blood becomes more concentrated, your kidneys have to work harder, and the risk of stone formation or rising creatinine increases. Cucumbers, being about 95% water, are one of the easiest, most refreshing ways to keep your system hydrated without overwhelming your kidneys. But cucumbers are more than water. They carry antioxidants like vitamin C and beta-carotene, subtle but powerful compounds that fight the oxidative stress nibbling away at kidney tissue. They also contain a gentle balance of minerals, low sodium, modest potassium, which makes them safe for most people with kidney concerns. That mineral balance helps regulate blood pressure, which is a crucial part of protecting kidneys. I remember a patient named Rosa, 72 years old, who struggled with swelling in her ankles and hands. She was hesitant to drink more water because she feared it would worsen her fluid retention. We introduced cucumbers into her diet, sliced in salads, blended into smoothies, even infused in her drinking water. Slowly, her swelling improved, her blood pressure steadied, and she told me with a grin that she felt less puffy, more alive. Cucumbers gave her a way to hydrate without fear. Another special property of cucumbers is their alkalizing effect. Our diets today tend to be heavy in acid-producing foods, meats, refined grains, processed snacks. Over time, this acidic load strains the kidneys, making it harder for them to maintain the body's delicate pH balance. Cucumbers, being naturally alkaline, help counteract that, offering a little relief to overworked kidneys. It's like giving them a cushion, a softer environment in which to function. The best way to enjoy cucumbers? Keep it simple. Eat one medium cucumber a day, sliced into salads, dipped in hummus, or even on its own with a pinch of herbs. You can also add slices to water for a refreshing infusion. Unlike some fruits and vegetables, cucumbers are safe to eat in generous amounts because of their low phosphorus and potassium content. But one word of caution, pairing cucumbers with other high potassium foods, like avocados or bananas, can tip the balance. So moderation is key. Cucumbers are also remarkably kind to digestion. Their high water and fiber content keep the gut moving smoothly, which indirectly supports kidney function by reducing the waste your kidneys need to process. It's another example of how the body is an interconnected system, where one small change, like eating a cucumber, creates ripples of health across multiple organs. What I love most about cucumbers, though, is their symbolism. They remind us that sometimes healing doesn't have to be complicated or exotic. You don't need rare herbs or expensive supplements. You can walk into your local market, pick up a cucumber for $1, and be holding one of nature's simplest kidney healers. For anyone living with the fear of worsening kidney disease, cucumbers offer both practicality and hope. They're easy, safe, refreshing, and they lighten the burden on the very organs that work so hard for us day after day. When I think about kidneys, I think about resilience. These small organs work tirelessly, hour after hour, filtering and protecting us without thanks. But when they falter, our lives can feel smaller, more fragile. The 8 foods we've talked about today, bitter melon, flax seeds, turmeric, fish, olive oil, blueberries, cabbage, and cucumbers, are not just ingredients. They're allies, simple gifts from nature that can lower creatinine, protect kidney tissue, and give you a chance to live with more energy and freedom. Choose them often. I'm Dr. Brian. Thank you for joining me at Vital Science for Seniors.